Thanks, Nick, and thanks to Corporate for the opportunity to be presenting here today to you all. Good afternoon, everyone. Who are Lachlan Star, I've been asked. We've only presented once here before at RRS, so I'm excited to be presenting again. We are a gold and copper explorer. We have a portfolio of projects within some of Australia's most highly endowed mineral provinces. We are looking or chasing those big, large greenfields discoveries, and we've been very active on many fronts, obviously with the aim of unlocking value through meaningful economic mineral discovery. We've had a very busy start to the year, and I look forward to presenting some of that here to you today. So the disclaimer, which you can find with the presentation on the ASX platform. Corporate overview. Excuse me, I've got to put my glasses on. Getting a bit old now for this. Who are we as a management team? It's just really myself, and it's Alan Hawkins, my exploration manager. We are driving the work at Lachlan Star. We are both geologists, both with an exploration background, a passion for discovery and exploration. We've both been a part of some very successful and led some very successful exploration teams with the multinationals. So we're looking forward to bringing that success here to Lachlan Star. We do have a small but very experienced board, and what this all means is that we have very low overheads, so all our dollars are going into the ground to make that discovery. We currently have $3.5 billion on cash on hand as at the start of this year, and we have a very strong shareholder base, with DevX holding about 30% of the share registry. The directors have skin in the game with over 5%, and Tim Goyder himself has some belief in the team and the projects in the company, and has also has a holding of over 6% as well. So if we look at the company highlights, really we're going to be talking about Basin Creek. Basin Creek was a high-grade copper system that we identified mid to late last year, based on some historic 1970s drilling that we felt was really worth chasing. It hadn't seen a single follow-up drill hole in over 50 years. So we were quite excited to get out there, test that, and we did so, put a rig on the ground within a few months, and we just received the last of those results in early January. So we intersected some really good copper grades over some good widths. Up there on your screen to your right is an example of some of the drill core we received. And what we really like about Basin Creek is that it has what we call scale potential. So yes, the drilling was encouraging, but what we're starting to see with the data we've collected to date is that there is more to the system. It does appear to be much larger than initially we had interpreted. Our portfolio, I really like our portfolio. It is a very prospective series of ground that we have in really good jurisdictions, both in New South Wales and in Western Australia. And we've been very diligent in how we apply our capital. So we've been very efficient with the understanding that every dollar that we put into the ground has to deliver a result, and that is the nature of what we do. So if we look at our portfolio, we have a very prominent land position. We're really focusing on known mineral jurisdictions. When we talk about that, we're talking about the Lachlan Fold Belt in New South Wales, a very copper gold rich jurisdiction, and as well as the Eastern Goldfields of Western Australia, so a very gold rich jurisdiction there. We are in and around existing mines and operations, as well as other highly well-known exploration projects, and we do think there is potential for further copper and gold discovery as well. When we jump straight into June E, like I mentioned, this was a project that we only really identified mid to late last year. We were keen to get in there, we did drill test it, and we did get some very encouraging results. So where is it located? You can see here up on your right-hand side, we are within the Macquarie Arc of the Lachlan Fold Belt, so it's a very well-known jurisdiction for hosting big copper-gold porphyry systems, as well as other gold systems. We've seen a lot of activity in most recent years. I'm sure you've heard some of that today, between Newmont and as well as Evolution acquiring various assets, but also we're seeing a lot of the majors now get back into exploration within New South Wales as well. So there's been a lot of activity on that front. With Basin Creek, it's down the southern end of the Macquarie Arc. It sits along the Gilmore Fault Zone. It's a major regional fault structure, along which you see several other deposits hosted along it. And what we're seeing with the work we've done to date is we're intersecting what we're calling a structurally controlled copper sulfide system. And the nearest analogues we've got within New South Wales really is CSA Mine and Tritton. What we really like about it, like I mentioned, is that there is what appears to be a large footprint. As we know, generally speaking, large deposits have large footprints, and we do think that there is scale potential to this project as well. So the original, impetus to get into the project was the historic drilling that we identified where they intersected over 21 metres at 4.5% copper. Quite a significant, obviously, result. This hadn't seen any drilling in 50 years, like I mentioned. We got out there, we completed our maiden diamond drill program just over 1,200 metres of drilling, and we got some pretty good intersections. Every single hole intersected copper mineralisation, and we got upwards of almost 80 metres at 0.5% copper, 21 at 1.2, as well as some other sort of high-grade intersections there, so not insignificant. When we started to look into the drilling, what we were seeing and what we were receiving, we thought, well, how else can we vector this system? How can we improve our targeting? So we started looking at downhole geophysics as a way and a tool to better target it. So we ended up applying what we call downhole IP, or induced polarization, and what we saw with that was a really compelling chargeable anomaly that we saw was directly correlative to the copper sulfides. So for us, it was almost like a direct targeting tool, and we were keen to test that at surface, which we did do so. We started over the area of drilling, got some really good confirmatory results, and then we then pushed that across the full target corridor, of which I'll now show you the results of some of that work. So this is what we call an isometric view. It's looking down on the project and to the northwest. You can see there some of both the current and historic drill intercepts. So there are economic grades and economic widths there. You can also see in the dash outline there is a sizable copper in soil geochem anomaly over the length of the project. Again, large footprint. And the area of drilling really was just the south end of it. So, sorry, to your left is the south, to your right is the north. On the south end there, over a strike of 200 metres to 300 metres was the full extent of drilling across the property. When we applied the surface geophysics, the IP, here is a bit of a heat map that shows that. The area's colours of yellow to red to white show a very strong chargeable response in the IP, and our interpretation is that is a direct correlative to copper sulfide mineralisation. So we're quite excited. There appears to be a sizable footprint and scale to the system. What got us even more exciting was when we obviously modelled the data. Here is a long section through it. To your left, again, is south. To your right is north. We see that where we drilled, as well as they historically drilled, was just a small portion of a bigger, broader system to the north. So as we step northward, the system gets wider, it gets longer, and it gets deeper. And it appears to be that there is roots to this system as well. The system we know plunges, we see that in the drilling, and so we're quite confident that there is something there to the north, and all it requires is us to get out there and put some drill holes into it. So what is our next steps? The next steps, we're in the process of doing further permitting with the department. We anticipate that to come through in the coming weeks. We aim to be back out there in the coming month or so, to be back out on the ground and drilling and stepping out and testing the northern strike extent of the system. So we're quite excited by it. We feel we've defined the search space of the system, and we're quite confident that this will deliver something in terms of mineralisation. As to what it is, well, the drill bit will tell us that at the end of the day. So very excited. So still staying within New South Wales, let's jump over to the Cobar Basin, another area that's seen a lot of activity in most recent times. So we know that the Cobar Mining District is a very well-endowed copper and other base metals district. It's seen a lot of activity in recent times. You see Polymetals getting up Endeavour. You see Matt Copper, previously Metals Acquisition, acquire the CSA mine. So there's been a lot of renewed interest in that district. We have some very prominent land positions here. We have ground both within the central Cobar Basin, but also the one I'll be talking to is the ground to the north. The key theme for Cobar systems is that they're all controlled by structure. Big basin-wide structures. Those big, thick yellow lines you see on the map there, they are what we believe control the systems within this district, and you can also see a lot of the deposits occur along that. Our ground is a long strike to the north where you get these big structures intersect, so from a geological point of view, it ticks all the right boxes. We commenced work on this project earlier last year before we pivoted to Basin Creek. We've now come back to the project. In the work that we did last year, we defined some very significant targets based on geophysics that were done on the ground, what we call coincident magnetic and gravity anomalies, as well as some supporting geochem. And what we found is that those are the kind of anomalies and features you want to look for when you're targeting Cobar-style systems. We've since now been back out there and are in the process of completing a ground-based IP survey over the targets we've defined, and we've got some really compelling results coming out of that, and we should be putting out a release on that shortly. And what we're finding is we're getting good, again, chargeable type features related to those. So quite confident we've got a series of targets here that are worth chasing, and they all tick the boxes for what we expect a Cobar-style system to have. So very excited to see where that takes us next as well. Now we jump over to the west side of the country, to the eastern goldfields of Western Australia. Here we have the Killalowry project. It was a project that Lachlan acquired from Liontown in about 2021. It had been sitting on the shelf for a while, with the gold thematic being as strong as it was. We dusted it off, had another good look at it, And what we found was compelling. There was some very compelling drill targets there that required some further investigation. What we like about this project, it sits within a very well-endowed terrain. It hosts similar geology or stratigraphic units to what they get up at Higginsville and up at St Ives, both major gold mining camps. We're actually surrounded by both Westgold and Pantoro, and so we think we're very well positioned as well. We also have the Zuleika Shear Zone, a very well-known gold mineralised structure trending through the property as well. So from, again, a geological point of view, we're quite excited by what this is. When we investigated the data, what we came to realise that the project contained late-stage porphyries as well as demagnetised zones, which are a result of alteration. These are indicative of feeder structures, so feeder structures can potentially introduce gold-bearing fluids. We also found that there was a series of gold-in-soil geochemical anomalies that had not seen any drill testing, as well as had identified a series of historic drill intercepts as well, 25 gram metre, 50 gram metre intercepts that occur near surface that have not been effectively followed up as well. So this ground, despite being its location, has seen very little drilling in the past 20, 30 years, which is quite exciting in itself. So we have a plan here to put some more work into this project. The guys have actually already been out into the field. We've collected a series of surface soils, surface rocks, completed some mapping, and from that we'll have a release that comes out shortly that talks to that results, as well as the targeting and the drill planning that we'll plan for at Killaloe as well. So if we talk to, well, what is our investment case? What's the value proposition? So already we're building a pipeline of drill-ready targets across our portfolio. First and foremost is Basin Creek. Basin Creek has what we believe size and scale, significant copper intersections. The IP really sells the story there for us. We think there is a system that goes to the north and to the depth. We also have another broader portfolio of high-quality projects in addition to Basin Creek. And we have a series of work programs in place and a series of news flow catalysts that will be coming out over the coming weeks and months. Basin Creek being number one, the North Cobar IP, should hear a story about that soon, as well as Killaloe and the work we've been doing out there as well as the drill targeting. Now, our approach to exploration is very much science-backed. We have obviously a strong principle and ethos in how we target and test our targets, and we believe that we can put some good in-ground effective exploration into play and deliver a sizable greenfields economic discovery. And that is it from me. Thank you very much.